Bipolar rollers, welcome back. I want to talk today about life getting busy. I know that sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes, always, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our personal life, in our work life, you know, in just life in general. Things get busy sometimes. New births, new deaths, new jobs, just new responsibilities, new challenges. And because we're working on our mental health, like I'm sure you are, and because it's an ongoing struggle that requires careful attention, life getting busy forms another challenge. Because the reality is that we have to be aware and pay close attention to our mental health, or things go south quickly. It's something that requires monitoring, right? Because we aren't the best judge of whether things are getting out of control or we're heading in the wrong direction. That's why it's important to have somebody that you trust in your life as your signpost, somebody who, can be your watch. Consider your mental health the confined space, and that person in your life being the confined space monitor. You need somebody who has your back and make sure that you're still doing okay and can pull you out if there's an issue, right? That's why in NA I have a sponsor, and I know that life gets busy sometimes. My life got really busy when I had my substance abuse problem under control. In other words, I had lots of clean time under my belt, and life got busy, and I stopped going to meetings, and I stopped working on my step work. I stopped being careful, and the inevitable relapse happened, right? Because life doesn't just get busy, life gets stressful. And even though you do have the tools to cope, with what's going on, when you're not being an active participant in your own rescue, there is no rescue. It's crisis time. And it's easier to slip, right? Same with mental health. I'm pretty convinced, and this is something I've read too, that the science is pretty strong on it, that all addiction is trauma-based. They've already kind of discovered that although there are genes that are kind of part of the, to make you genetically more, say, predisposed to certain addictions, the reality is those genes aren't really responsible for your addiction or for the way you cope. They are, unfortunately, those issues are trauma-based. They are rooted from trauma. And mental illness can be the same in a lot of ways. Genetically, you might be predisposed to certain things, but the reality is that your mental health, in a big way, is affected by your surroundings. And if your surroundings are always busy, or they get extremely busy, the temptation might be there to neglect your mental health, or to not stay on top of your underlying addiction issues. So I guess what I'm saying is, just like you can tell that a manic episode is coming on by you suddenly having a difficulty sleeping, or your sleep patterns are all over the place, you can also tell when things are going to get challenging, when your life gets busy. Remember, even though we aren't bipolar, it's something we have. Knowing that we have it comes with a certain level of responsibility, and that means that you can't get cocky. You can't act like or behave or engage your life from the place of somebody without a mental illness. You have to be aware. You can't be complacent. You have to understand that that mental illness comes with responsibilities. It is your responsibility to push for that, to push for that extra effort. You have to put in the extra effort. It's like, well, this is a bad analogy, but if I were somebody with a more visible ethnicity and I was entering a valued field and I knew that there was some racism involved in that field, I knew that there was some stereotyping and some bias, I would have to work extra hard. As many of my fellow brothers of a more visible minority work extra hard to stand out because they know the hurdles that they are facing with unnecessary criticism or bias or judgment. Racism's an ugly thing. So a lot of them just strive to be at the top of their field because they feel they have a lot more to prove. It's an unfair situation, but it is what it is. And it's the same with us with a mental illness. That's why I ask you guys to represent. We can't be the stories they read about on the internet. The ones who did not make their mental health a priority, did not meet with those challenges head on, but instead succumbed to their mental illness and then tragedy struck. We are not those people. By represent, I mean we have to work a little extra hard to show them that we are not bipolar. We have bipolar, and there's a difference. And I know you know that difference too. So, my brothers and sisters, I leave you with this. My bipolar rollers, get out there and represent.